So the first thing that I'm reacting to when I see all of these cards is there's a lot of yellow here, which is golden, it's optimistic, it's sunny, it's radiant. She's really coming forward a lot. This Queen of Wands, this is generally a fire sign, so Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, but it can be really anyone who holds the archetype of Queen of Wands energy, which is the Queen of Fire. She's very sunny, she's very optimistic, she's attractive and witty and likes to get things done. She's got this fiery, passionate, bold, confident energy to her, and she's showing up strong for you middle of the month, coupled with this 10 of Cups, which is the most amount of cups on a card that can appear. Cups is heart energy, it's emotional energy, it's fulfillment, and you can see in this card that it's feeling like you've arrived at the end of the rainbow. There's a nice relationship overtone to this. This card in general means happiness, joy, celebration, just feeling emotionally fulfilled. So I really get the sense that that's in relation to this Queen of Wands person, whoever that might be. But I also wonder to what extent, Virgo, you may be turning away from that, or there's Page of Cups in reverse that feels a little bit unsure. Page is the younger side of ourselves, and this is the earth sign page. So this could be potentially Taurus, Capricorn, but I'm really reading it as you, Virgo, since you're the earth sign element here in this reading. And this is the younger side of yourself. This is thinking back to how you were when you were a teenager. This is really like the inner child or the inner innocent of who you are, and wanting to maintain stability, it's being willing, because pages are about openness and willingness, and the willingness to receive something. In most decks, he's holding up this coin, which is something tangible, something real, something that he's discovered, or something that's being handed to him. But in the reverse, there's some doubt, fear, or resistance about it. I'm getting an unsureness. But it's surrounded by wonderful things, Virgo. It's surrounded by 10 of Cups and 6 of Cups, two very beautiful cards. Emotional fulfillment, happiness, joy, the reward at the end of the rainbow. And then also 6 of Cups, which has to do with feeling childlike. And this page is looking on to this, looking on and considering this, maybe with some doubt, maybe with some fear, but maybe it could just be delay. But this is a card of innocence. This is a card of sweetness. This 6 of Cups represents two children who are completely open-hearted with one another and sharing heart energy, sharing this openness that children have with one another. I always think of two kids running into the sandbox and playing, forming immediate friendships. This card is also a card of reunion from the past with someone we know from either childhood or from a long time ago. And these white lilies represent innocence. It's really a card of sweetness. Can be sentimentality. It means not having any pretense. It means being open-hearted, having like the laughter of children between one another, really feeling like the sweet childlike innocence with one another, or maybe feeling like children together. So the middle of the month is really full of wonderful things for you, Virgo. Potentially with someone you know from your past, or potentially with a Queen of Wands type person. Really beautiful things. I'm going to go back to the beginning here and talk a little bit about this. We do have this just pause for reflection and consideration with your efforts and what you're reaping through your actions, maybe needing to have patience for things to sweeten and develop. And I see that next to this card of 7 of Cups. Now this card, I sometimes call this card the Las Vegas card because it represents a lot of glittering options. But I always mention with this card that not all that glitters is gold. And there's a lot of Neptune energy in this card. That's what all this fog represents. It means not really being able to see things clearly. So when I see this card, I often suggest that you do your research or look behind the curtain. These things can sometimes mean seeing things with rose-colored glasses, seeing all these glittering options and being infatuated or attracted to them. But you Virgos really know how to look reality straight in the eye, and you know how to like check references, how to look behind the curtain. You don't really tend to go for things that are castles in the air. You know how to build strong foundations under things. Your Earth. This is really a Neptune-based card, which has this sort of pink fog in front of it. It's all glittering, but it can be a little bit flimsy. And I sometimes think of like the bird that chases after the glittering thing when I see this card. So it means many options, and it means evaluating what it is that you want, because there are a lot of different things to choose from here. So with this in reverse, I'm just going to encourage you to look a little deeper into what your different options are. Make sure that you're seeing beyond the surface level. And it's a time to pause at the beginning of October and really just think about where your efforts are taking you, and think about the harvest that you want to reap. Maybe waiting for time to develop things, to make them sweeten and ripen. So those are both 7 cards: spiritual focus, spiritual choice. There's also something here with Hierophant and 2 of Cups that's in reverse. Again, all spiritually based cards, and kind of focused on this 2 of Cups. Both of these are loving energy cards. This is the younger side of it, and this is the more mature side of it. 2 of Cups usually means a love affair, an exchange of hearts. It's one of the most beautiful cards for a relationship. It's about 2 people giving hearts to one another. And it's in reverse here. It can often mean healing through exchange of heart energy. With it in the reverse here, there's some sort of doubt, fear, or resistance going on regarding an interaction that has to do with the exchange of hearts. And you may be questioning the stability, the practicality of this with Hierophant in reverse. This is something also related to a spiritual lesson. It has to do with belief, and it has to do with connecting to the spiritual truths that are available here. So I'm really seeing this is a card of spirituality, tangibility, practicality, conventionality, tradition. And this is a card, this is a lot more flimsy. This is a lot more like things that are glittering, Las Vegas, infatuation, you know, the shiny thing. So there's a lot of, I don't know if I want to use the word polarity, but I'm going to say there's a lot of choice here. And that's part of what you may be considering as long-term, long-range. Where are your efforts most productive? Where are they most fruitful, literally, especially in regards to where you put your affections? So there's some real consideration of that, and you may not feel like you can see that really clearly. There may be too many. Part of you is saying, I want to go after what I'm infatuated with. This other one is saying, I want to do what's practical. And it may be just throwing your vision of relationship into question, or doubt, fear, resistance. It may just be a time of consideration where things are, you're not 100% clear on what your decisions are, or what the path forward is on that. You may just need to take time to reflect on that and consider whether you want to keep doing the same sort of actions, or head in a different direction, plant a different crop and receive a different yield, or if you're just willing to wait for the current crop to sweeten and ripen, because it looks like you do have a harvest here. So again, I talked a little bit about what's going on mid-month. Lots of emotional fulfillment if you can put yourself in a place of removing the fear, doubt, or resistance to either this connection with someone you know from your past, or being willing to let the full emotion in, potentially related to a Queen of Wands person. And then at the end of the month, there are things that you are kind of struggling with, Virgo, potentially. You know, what I'm really getting is that you may need to see the lessons from the past relating to an old hurt. I know that you were releasing this last month, or healing from this, and it's going to involve letting go of an old way of thinking. I call this card 5 of Swords, picking up the pieces. And what this card is about is seeing the insight and the wisdom that is left out on the battlefield of something that has ended. This is an old conflict. We see the battlefield, we see the sun setting, people are walking away. And what this figure is doing is collecting these swords that are left out on the battlefield. And swords represent the mental realm. They represent ideas, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. So a lot of times when I see this card, it represents collecting the insights, learning the lessons, seeing the silver linings, collecting the wisdom of knowing what the conflict was about. Hindsight is 2020 when this card shows up. It's collecting the lessons so that you go forward into the future with more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding about what the conflict was about, what the battle was about, even though it's long gone. So picking up the pieces, collecting insight, wisdom, knowledge, understanding going forward, because whatever this thing was, it really hurt you. And there's still emotional energy being drained on the field here. And in many ways, these are both somber cards. You can see they both have their heads kind of bowed down. But what this is telling me is that in order for you to release a certain way of thinking, because 10 of Swords, this is the most amount of swords on a card. It's all of these are thoughts that are ultimately draining you. This is an old way of thinking. This is 10. This is completing a complete cycle. And I often call this card negative thinking, or it's just a pattern of thinking that ends up draining the life force out of you. So you're in the process of releasing this. You're becoming the survivor card here at the end, the person who's standing full and tall and strong. But what I'm really seeing is that it may be necessary, as well as challenging, because they're both in reverse, to really look back and reflect on the wisdom, the knowledge, the insights that you learned from this old battle. It may be related to this Queen of Wands. Some of you may have been involved with a Queen of Wands person. That could either be current time in the middle of October, or it could be related to this old thing that you're having to have patience on something currently, because you're still working on collecting knowledge, wisdom, insights about this old battle that the sun has set on. I get the sense that there is some struggle, resistance, fear, or doubt to looking at what those insights were, those lessons learned, because it may be very painful, or there may still be grief related to that. But if you're able to do that, if you're able to turn that around and see the wisdom of why certain things happened or what the lessons were, and heal from your grief and turn around and receive this Two of Cups, which is literally this card, to exchange of hearts energy, then you may be able to progress through to releasing an old, outdated way of thinking that does nothing but drain you. This is a completing of that cycle, and you're ready for it at the end of October. You're ready to release that old way of thinking and feeling drained. And you're actually stepping into this Nine of Wands, which is the Survivor card. I call this card my Cool Hand Luke card, because he keeps getting knocked down, but he keeps getting back up. And I always mention this Buddhist saying of fall down 7 times, stand up 8 when I see this card. It also reminds me of a Samuel Beckett quote, which says, "Ever tried, ever failed, never mind, try again, fail better." And this is a very strong card. So I see, Virgo, that the first opening part of the month may be just about assessment, evaluating your effort and the returns that you are getting from that, whether the field that you're planting is pleasing to you, whether you're willing to wait for the harvest, for the time to be right, for things to be ripe and sweet, rather than harvesting things too soon and they're sour. And it's really just a time of evaluating options, considering what is surface level or superficial versus what is stable and long lasting and practical, even traditional or conventional, and maybe especially in relation to where you place your heart in relation to relationships. So there's a little bit of just sort of musing and reflecting on this. I almost get that this is that farmer standing in the field thinking about all of this and just considering options, versus what is, I'll just say, flimsy or attractive on the surface versus what seems stable. And he's very much like in a cement church or stone church, earth energy that matches you, Virgo, versus what is sort of more impermanent, more ephemeral, more castles in the air kind of stuff, more, I'll just say, superficial level, for lack of a better word, infatuation based. And maybe you're just considering all of this, thinking things over, considering, reflecting, and these are the themes that are in your mind, and you're just turning things over. In the middle of the month, there's a lot of beautiful emotional energy available to you. 10 of Cups, the most amount of fulfillment that you can receive. This is connecting with someone from your past or with someone who makes you feel like a child. There's definitely a role that a Queen of Wands character is playing. Again, potentially a fire sign, Aries, Leo, or Sag, or someone who fits this archetype. And then towards the end of the month, you may need to reflect upon not only the grief of old wounds, but also the insights, the wisdom, the lessons learned. This may be challenging because this is in reverse, but it will help you release this, Virgo, and it will help you release this old, outdated way of thinking that hurts you. Any thoughts that don't serve you, any thoughts that drain you ultimately and leave you feeling like this. I really get the sense that you Virgos are leaving this behind. If you've been experiencing this or feeling this is an old way of thinking, and this is the end. Sometimes this card is called bottoming out, but I also say it's always darkest before the dawn. It's very cliche, but that's what this card is about. There's a dawn here coming, a new day, because you're letting go and releasing this. This old you is passing away, making room for the new you. And the person that you are is the survivor, this person who keeps getting up regardless of how many battles they've been in. They have the strength, the endurance, the fortitude to stand and to just be strong. So that is my reading for you. Again, is the survivor card here. Interesting that I see these in line, the Two of Cups, the exchange of hearts, relationship, one of the best relationship cards in the deck. Here with this reunion card, sweetness, innocence, with someone who makes you feel like a child or that you've known from your past. And the survivor card, lots of good things, Virgo, for October. You may just need to weigh your decisions and weigh where you want to put your efforts. And then allow in this beautiful heart energy. See if you can remove whatever doubts, fears, or resistance you might have. Allow yourself to feel young again, feel open, feel willing. That's what pages are about. And you come out quite nicely here in the end, towards the end of October.